All right, we're live. Welcome everyone to Table Talk, where we talk all things tabletop. I'm your host, the Bad Luck Gamer, with my co-host Glue Boy.
Hello.
And this is honestly the beginning of this year has been kind of slow when it comes to TTRPG stuff and news. But that's just because we already know a good portion of stuff coming out like in the year to come. A lot of stuff is coming out Q2, end of summer, all that kind of stuff. And I'm consistently blown away by how much really cool stuff is on the corner, especially coming out of Paizo.
Honestly.
So we're going to talk about some of that today, but of course, if you're watching this post-stream, we tend to get to the main topic around the 25-minute mark, give or take. So go ahead and hop down there. But we're going to do a little bit of small talk while we're waiting for people to hop in. So, Alex, what's been up with you?
Well, I finally finished the orc video. It is live.
I saw.
And I'm proud of it, even though it was annoying to make because I'm cursed. Where my power went out halfway through recording that video. So I had to reshoot the last bit, which I'm happy I reshot it because I got to patch up my script and I think I made it a better product overall, just with more time working on it. But I'm proud of it. I'm also proud of the fact that I don't have people coming in immediately correcting me and ruining the thesis of my video, which that's good. I was very worried that I just missed one thing.
Right.
And then it's my whole theory that orc belief isn't actually a real thing would just come crumbling down. So far, I've had one person say oh, it's a thing in the books, and it's okay, which books? And if you're indicating one book in particular, I read it, it's not there. They never say that. It's wrongly cited.
Yeah, it's such a wild video just because it's what everyone thought they knew about the orcs just comes crumbling down.
Yeah, and it is a thing where if people who have been really, really good on the lore, read a lot of books, a consensus for that is oh yeah, I mean, I imagine it exists in some aspect, but it's just, it's overhyped. It's made a lot stronger in community memes, and it's interesting how there's honestly no support for it, except for colors are the thing I cannot disprove or prove because there's no actual out of universe writing on it. The only confirmations in big air quotes are tabletop rules and some of the video game rules, which you shouldn't use as a lore citation at all, because you fall down a slippery slope for a lot of things. And it's interesting. The one that actually hit me was is the I'm a Tank story that everyone knows because of Adeptus Ridiculous. It's what blew them up. It's the video I found them with, where as I'm reading it, I'm okay, let me find the origin of this, because I know it wasn't originally an orc thing. And then I find out it's a Boy Scout campfire skit that I performed as a child. That's the part that blew me away.
Elaborate.
So the whole I'm a tank story, you know it, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah. So it is that is really clearly a rewritten, long existing skit where there's many variations of it. Some of the variations are, it's an army training drill. That's one I've seen. It's one I found on Reddit, posted 10 years ago. And then in 1997, a compendium of Boy Scout campfire skits, was released, which is a book that, they're all basically taken from and iterated on. And there's one in there that is the exact same skit, just instead of it being military, it's a wizard, and there's fantasy stuff, and it's stabby stab stab instead of bang bang bang, but it's the exact same story. That then ends with tank, I'm a tank, and I performed that at like when I was like, I want to say like 12, 13, in like a Boy Scout camp, but we did like the military version. There wasn't like wizards and shit.
Right.
So like as I was reading the original skit and like finding the origin of it, I was like, it unlocked a memory of me doing it.
How strange.
Yeah. It's so weird that like the most famous orc story that is attributed to orcs was not written about orcs at all, and is like almost 20 years old.
I will make a statement. Bricky did say that he's not sure this is a real story.
Oh yeah, I'm not blaming him at all. Like I'm not saying that he got it wrong. I'm saying that it is a story that has floated around the orcs for a while, and like because I heard it before I saw it with Adeptus Ridiculous. They just did like I think the best retelling of it, and also that video is just fun. But like that's where I was like, let me look into it. Let me look into that one because it's the one everyone knows. Because there's like another orc story that I'm pretty sure is a army Marines are dumb joke, because that'll happen. But yeah, like large point of that video is casual lore is fine. I don't really care if people get it wrong, and orcs are fun. So if people want to headcanon their stuff about orcs and say that they still have the powers of belief, feel free. I'm not gonna stop you, but it is like a fun thing to go through and like realize, wow, the books don't support this thing that's just accepted to be true.
Yeah, that's like I said, that's wild. That when you started going into it, I was just like, well, maybe Alex is just missing a thing, missing a written work. So I'll see what his research comes across as. And yeah, it's just it's that thing. It's like it's ironic, or it's I guess it's ironic. It's ironic that the orc belief thing is just the fans' belief in the orcs that kind of gives them this thing. Where to the point where it's like it's just a thing now. It's just people think that way, and it's about as true as anything canon.
Somebody, funny enough, did comment something like that. It's like, it's us. We are the orcs who believed it so hard it became canon.
Yeah.
And like, I imagine if down the line there are like news sources that like, I guess say otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a situation that kind of happens with Elder Scrolls lore, where fans that got into it a long time ago, now work for the company.
Right.
They believe this thing to be canon, therefore it now becomes canon.
Yeah. Which is interesting. It's interesting that that can happen in just a thing. Especially Warhammer. Because Warhammer specifically is just not all written out. It's like explicitly left with a lot of holes that are kind of filled in by what you think might happen, all that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of things we just don't fully know when it comes to the Warhammer universe.
There's like apparently a big binder that is all of the like a lot of the true lore and all the mysteries, but it is lore that they have, so there can be coherence in the background instead of but they're not going to be released. Like the truth of the Primarchs is in that binder.
Interesting. And also, anyone who's listening, it's not you, it's Alex's connection.
Let me rejoin.
Okay. That work? That's not good.
There we go. That took a while.
Weird. You came back sooner than you came back, I guess.
That's really weird.
It's really
it was
weird.
like waiting endpoint connection. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, like the big one that I like in that same vein is Elder Scrolls lore, where a lot of old Elder Scrolls lore came up on forums with the writers just hanging out in the Bethesda forums answering questions, and they would like expand on concepts that are like not even mentioned in the games or briefly mentioned. The big one is towers, the concept of towers in Elder Scrolls, which are very important, very esoteric, and very weird. where nowadays they're being kind of added more front and center into Elder Scrolls, specifically with Elder Scrolls Online, because the writers who are working on those games have been fans of Bethesda for like 20 years, and they were on those forums. So it's just it's cool to think about how a lot of game and like game lore develops, and honestly, like the accepted change of canon that can occur in a game, and like it kind of feels like the same way words will change meaning as people just say it differently, like enough times. I love tabletop history. It's so fun to look into.
It is. It's something that I look forward to it future as well, where more like TTRPGs kind of become bigger and more mainstream, because I genuinely feel that we are on the cusp of something like that happening because of the fall of Dungeons and Dragons, more or less.
I would say so.
Because I feel like people are just going to be looking for other TTRPGs, and that's going to open up the market for a lot of opportunity. And I think we're going to hit our indie phase of tabletop. Not like soon, but maybe in like 10 years or something like that, you know? When people are getting more and more interested.
That does get me thinking. I feel like this would be a dope video, but obviously one that, like, if you were to make, it's got to be later, because I don't think you have the time for it.
I definitely don't.
Yeah, like, I think it would be very interesting to have a video of, like, how we got to, say, Pathfinder 2nd Edition, where, because we've had the conversation, like, before, just in personal calls, where we're talking about, like, oh, yeah, here's old D&D mechanics, and, like, as they've kind of evolved over time. I think it'd be interesting to go tabletop history, starting with, like, first D&D, and like kind of seeing how the design changed of the game to where you're like, okay, I see why this changed in the next edition, and like slowly, step by step by step, led us to Pathfinder 2e.
Yeah, I think an interesting video would be like looking at the history of like TTRPG rules and like how we got to like the D20 and AC and everything like that. Stuff that is used in video games as well. Yeah. You know, like, because it's crazy how influential the D20 system essentially has been for even video games.
Exactly. I'm curious what the first game that used the D20 was, and like, because it's the part I think is really interesting with tabletop history and like how they're all designed, is like you have those moments where a person makes a decision of like, let's go with this dice, and then didn't realize they were making like the best innovation possible.
Right.
And it's like, even with game design, it's that, if you're looking at that history of, it's a lot of times people throwing shit at a wall and like seeing how well it works. Like the surprising length it took for people to realize the second analog stick on a controller for a camera was a good idea.
Right. Yeah, and you know, it's something that I feel very specifically, especially in the time and history we are in tabletop now, where we're going to start having a lot of those kind of discoveries happening more and more as people are innovating on the formula, because like that was done before to some degree, but you know, like who knows what games came out that had some really innovative stuff that just no one heard of because of how obscure tabletop was, you know?
Yeah. Like there could be some tiny little game that created some really dope system that we just kind of like, it didn't sell well, so no one really knows about it.
Yeah. And onto my small talk before we get to the subject, because I feel like this is just going to turn into the subject if I let it go too far.
Maybe, yeah.
So for me, one, Claire Obscure Expedition 33, baller game. Baller game. Oh my god, so good. Been playing that as much as I can. If you check my Steam stuff, it says I have way more hours than I actually have played, because a lot of it is just me dealing with a baby while the game is like waiting for my turn or something like that. But
Yeah, I imagine a lot of paused or just like standing in the battle screen.
yeah,
Makes sense.
a lot. Super good game. The story though, oh, it's so good.
I've never been hooked so quickly on like an RPG story.
Right? Yeah, actually, that's a very good point to make. I feel the same.
Like I was hooked relatively quickly in like a decent number of RPGs. One with a very similar theme is Xenoblade 3, because both games are hitting that like concept of there is a countdown to your life, and you can tangibly see how much time you have left on this world and how do you deal with that. I think Expedition 33 hits it way harder.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say the opening is slow. Like, sure, in like a replay I'd find it slow, but like the actual plot of it hits really hard. Like that hurt. The prologue hurts, man.
It does.
It was well done.
It shows the quiet pain that the Gamage has, because they've gotten used to it, so it's no longer like a shock value. And
that part hurts harder, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's interesting to see an aspect where you're in a world where this exists, right? You're in a world where like you know when you're going to die, and you know exactly like how many years potentially you have left, given, you know, unless some strange circumstance happens. And how people have just like come to terms with that, even though it's like it doesn't matter how much time you prepare, it still hurts, it still sucks regardless. And it's something so emotionally evoking, which I really, really like.
Yeah.
And it's a story that inspires me to like, I want to make more real characters in TTRPGs. I want players to have more interactions with like good NPCs, you know. And so I've been thinking a lot about that. It makes me also more happy about the bond system I have in the 333, because the 333 motivates players to make bonds with NPCs because you gain like actual tangible benefits from doing so, which allows for story to be layered on top of that, so that sure, yeah, player may be doing it just for the buffs, right? But that doesn't mean that it can't be utilized by the GM for interesting ends and create a sense of value in that character. So it's great, and it gets so much better the deeper you get into the game. It does not get stale, which is amazing. So there's that. And then as well, we're getting ready to get into like the summer months here soon. I mean, I'm getting married in like 4-ish weeks. Wait, today is the 8th. Yeah, actually, legitimately a month from today.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready for that, but like I'm also on the point of like, all right, if I'm going to do anything YouTube related, it needs to like start happening soon, because if I don't do the summer stuff, then there will be almost no reason to do anything else. This is like the biggest time of the year. So
yeah, especially if there's just stuff dropping that is going to be big to cover.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that here in a moment. So it's just like fighting with that, and then also like legitimately developing the 333 has been great. I feel very confident in the game and its design, and I think it's starting conversations with, like, if you watched the prior stream, we had like an hour and a half conversation on stream about just some of the base mechanics and everything, and like the general game feel and all that. And it's interesting to be on this side of the spectrum, because like I've tried designing games before, but I've never gotten like anywhere near this far. And now that I'm like in the deep in the weeds of it, it makes me appreciate overall tabletop design in new ways.
It is like the most tangible way playtesting like this game with you, and like thinking about like, okay, like what is this like doing? Is there a way like I think this might operate better? And then in the moment also realizing, oh, I get why games do it that way. Like I
Right.
understand. It's really interesting because I've never tried my hand at game development. The most I've done is I feel like I understand like tabletop stuff. I like looking into how things work and are designed. And my education was largely learning how to critique things and be critiqued.
Yeah. So it's fascinating. I'm really enjoying the game, and legitimately, I do think the game is really really good. I don't think it's a game gonna be for like every table or anything. It's inherently like an advanced tabletop. First of all, it requires a lot of effort on the player's side more than other tabletops ask. On the GM side, though, I don't think this is a more difficult game than normal. And in fact, the game offers a lot of GM aids that I think will be beneficial. But like from a player perspective, this game does ask more of the players. I don't think that's a wrong thing, but I think that will make some people not like the game.
There is the only thing I could possibly see when it comes to GMs and ease of operation is there's like a lot of mechanics or systems in place.
Yeah.
So depending on how the book is laid out, or the big PDF is going to be laid out, I can see people having like there's like, oh yeah, you can just hand wave stuff, and then later realizing there are mechanics, or trying to come up with something, and then oh yeah, there's a system for this in the game already. It's just
Yeah.
knowing all the systems that do exist and knowing when to disperse them.
Yeah, and that's definitely a thing that I don't know if it's going to be a problem as much as, again, it's going to be a thing of like, it's like the Path of Exile skill tree. Like some people will be like, I don't know how to do this build I'm trying to do, and get kind of put off by it. But other people will be like, I'm getting it. I understand what the game has now. If you use this and that, it works really, really well. And,
Yeah.
you know, the idea for the game for me is I want a narratively crunchy game. And so a lot of the mechanics blends the two ideas in ways that I feel like people aren't used to. But again, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a thing that once people get it, it will be something that they'll want in other games. You know, systems that lend themselves to the narrative while still having mechanical depth that people can like attach to and play around with and stuff like that.
I can see the bond system being slotted into other games pretty easily.
Yeah, for sure. The bond system is definitely one of my favorite parts, but it's shocking to me how much of the game just is super moddable and you could do different things with it. Like we have aliases that none of the players have touched yet, but will probably soon. And aliases were just made off of the mechanics of the bond system, and it fit together so well. And then so it's just like, do you want an alias that has like mechanical effect on your character? This is probably like one of the better ways to do it that I've found so far.
Yeah.
Which is
like the only other way would be like, oh, technically you have like a different character sheet, but that feels like a clunky way of doing it.
It's a very clunky way of doing it, and it causes problems.
Yeah.
So.
That's why this system, like pulled from the bond stuff, I think is going to operate with it better.
Yeah. But anyway, all right, let's talk about the year of Paizo. So, for those who may not know, Paizo is well known for delivering a ton of books every year and have just ever increasingly more and more interesting books and develop it. Like ever since Paizo broke away from Pathfinder First Edition and made Second Edition and has started kind of like making it its own system and not just like D&D but better. Yeah, exactly. Now they're doing so many really cool things. I mean, even what Paizo's already done. I love the Thaumaturge. That's essentially a class I've always wanted in a game that just hasn't been done in a way that I felt was effective until Thaumaturge was done.
I struggle to even think of classes in some games that like hit it similarly.
Yeah.
It feels like such a specific vibe, and a vibe that I'm sad I haven't played yet.
And in a game that is just infinitely like, ooh, I can make a character based on that. Ooh, I can make a character based on that. Ooh, I want to try this build. You know, Pathfinder 2nd Edition is definitely, yeah, I was just about to talk about it. Oh, man, you're spoiling the stream. What are you doing? It's been crazy. Now, yeah, so as Oyman here has been saying, we have Battlecry coming out here soon, which is going to introduce it's not the strategist, is it?
Commander.
Oh, is it Commander? Yeah.
Commander and Guardian? Yeah,
Guardian. Yeah, and Guardian. I remembered Guardian. The Commander is going to be awesome. I'm going to really, really like it. Also, yo, Noth, hi, how are you doing? Have I ever seen a Teen Beach movie? No.
I am going to be excited for seeing somebody play Commander.
Right.
Because that was my large takeaway of, man, this class looks very cool for other people. I won't touch it because I like whatever, because I'm here for Guardian. I want to make the Juggernaut build because it's so possible.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they've done with Guardian since the playtest. Since the playtest was not super good for the Guardian. So
yeah, it could have been operate a little smoother.
It just didn't feel like it did what it was supposed to do, which is draw aggro and be a tank, essentially.
It is a weird, I think we even talked about it back then, I just don't remember. It is like a weird concept to be like, let me draw aggro in a tabletop game where like
where enemies have free will.
Yeah, because it's up to the GM.
Right.
So like that feels interesting. Like, how do you force that without it being too exploitable? Like, that's what it felt like. It was trying to find a balance and didn't hit it as hard. And like, that's the point of a playtest. You got to figure out if stuff doesn't work as intended.
Also, thanks, Malachi, if you're still here. We appreciate you. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm gonna be very, very interested to see. I think Battlecry is going to hit better than War of Immortals, which is a little sad, but I feel like War of Immortals was just a very like Animist. I think is cool conceptually speaking, but I don't think they made an interesting enough mechanic for it. Exemplar was great, but a lot of people are kind of running rough against the idea of being a demigod in their setting because it's like that seems very out of this place of an adventure. I don't have a problem with it, but I'm just saying this is what a lot of people are saying. Hey Chase, what's up?
I can see it like hitting like that. Personally, I also like the idea because sure, like it's a demigod. I think you can make it fit. If the GM lets it, but I think even then you can flavor it as like you're not a demigod. You just have like you were somehow have access to like a spark of divinity. Like there's something that's kind of divine in you without being like, hello, I'm Hercules, like Junior.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's just one of those things that I get why people feel that way. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I think, if anything, I think Exemplar would do better in a different type of setting where there's more like this idea of commingling with like deities and gods, or like you can look at Exemplar as kind of like a martial version of a sorcerer if you want, where it's just like, yeah, one of your ancestors was really cool, you know, and
yeah.
You get
Like
some.
what was it? The one fighter archetype, the immortal. I forget the name of it. It's the one that
Um.
gives you doomed.
Oh yeah, the immortal. Was it the immortal warrior? I can't remember.
Something. It's something like that.
Warrior of Legend. That one. That one. I'm not saying Animus is a bad class. I'm just saying that mechanically on the surface, it's not that interesting compared to some other classes. Was my only point. I do think Animus can be good, and I think it's as good as many of the other classes, to be honest.
Yeah, like I think it's concept of like, oh, you have like a kind of splitting of a like spell sheet. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
It's one of those issues for me where I look at Animus and I'm like, man, Animus, you objectively look cool. It sucks that right next to you is Peak.
Right. So I feel like Battlecry is going to stand out. I think it's going to be really, really good. And then we're going to have Starfinder fully released, and I think Starfinder is just going to be really, really good. I mean, it's just another Pathfinder, but in space. I am a little annoyed about this idea of, all right, Starfinder is coming out now. Everyone, let's plan our combined Pathfinder Starfinder game, because not that I think that isn't fun. It is, but it inherently puts the two games like at odds, or links them together in a way that I feel like diminishes Starfinder as like its own game. You know what I mean?
I get you.
And so that's kind of like the problem with having compatible rule sets, is people are just going to do it's like World of Darkness, right? World of Darkness has the same exact problem of, hey, let's have a werewolf vampire hunter game. And it's like, they're kind of just designed to play differently. And
they all play differently to that point of like, you shouldn't have a party mixed of
right.
like, we have a werewolf, a hunter, a vampire, though. Like, it can work as you take the concepts and the lore, and you have like, oh yeah, in my vampire game there's a mage, he's there, or there's a pack of werewolves in the woods,
right?
But like, you can't go into mechanical detail of how they work, and there's a reason why every game has a different enemy stat block for like each individual type of creature.
Yeah, so it's something that like, I think Starfinder is going to be super hype. I'm super excited for more stuff about it to come out. But I think because of its compatibility with Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it's ironically enough something that plays to the detriment of Starfinder, like as its own game. And I feel like it would be better if there was just more of a segregation between the two. I mean, sure, play again. If you want to mix and match, sure, I think that's fine. But I feel like design-wise or something, there should have been more of a division between the two, just to let Starfinder shine on its own,
Yeah, I'm glad that even though like I think there's a very good marketing reason to be like, oh yeah, the game you already play, this could basically be a big supplement book that just gets people, I think, more into playing a new game, because as we struggle with D&D, switching games can be hard for people.
Yeah.
But like, because like I'm interested in doing I would love to do a Pathfinder Starfinder like crossover game, but I also can be like, yeah, but they're different games and they should be designed differently, and I'm happy they are being designed differently. And I wouldn't want every game to be Pathfinder Starfinder.
Yeah, right.
I think it'd be a really fun campaign to do it like once. I think explicitly the part that I find interesting, I think it'd be fun to do a duology series of, we're Starfinder characters on Galarian, or we're Pathfinder characters who got abducted by aliens. Like, I think that is a really fun concept.
Yeah,
for like a short little thing.
And like, again, I'm not trying to poo-poo someone else's, like, yuck someone's yum, essentially. I'm just saying that it's what everyone else is already thinking, right? Tons of people are already thinking this idea, which inherently means that people, rather than thinking about, oh, this cool Starfinder game we're going to start, they're thinking of, oh, what's this cool combination game we're going to do? And that, I feel like, diminishes Starfinder a little bit. I need that in my veins. Yeah, exactly. A game with more guns in Pathfinder would be kind of cool.
100%. Like, I'm glad it seems like the they haven't harped on that aspect as hard as they originally did. Because I remember seeing it originally, like, oh yeah, these games can work together, but I'm happy it hasn't been carried out continuously. And
right.
If anything, I think the good ending is people have that not original concept of like crossover, and then after that are like, oh, let's just do like a normal Starfinder game. Like that I think is the good ending.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, for me personally, I would rather run just a Starfinder game first, or even like
I agree.
the first few times. I think a mixed game would be interesting when it's like, okay, we got Starfinder down, now let's mix the two and see what we get.
I want a proficiency with both game systems before I cross them, because I won't understand like the fun, extra fun and the pitfalls of crossover stuff without having expertise in like Starfinder.
Right. And now we know in October, end of October, we're getting Monster Core 2, which I'm actually very, very excited for. Honestly, if you're porting Pathfinder classes to Starfinder 2, only champion and gunslinger need hard-coded changes IMO. I mean, yeah, yeah, sure. I think a lot of people have opinions similar to that. But Monster Core 2. So talking about Monster Core 2, what I'm excited about is now Paizo's not afraid to deviate from the classics of the D&D monsters, and are going to start coming up with their own more unique monsters like they did in the first player core. And I'm excited. I'm excited to have another fantasy game with their own monsters, not just, hey, let's do a mimic, hey, let's do a beholder, hey, let's do weird underground dwarves, you know, again, like every other game does. That
there are like really cool unique monsters in like Pathfinder already, even before the D&D split. But the moment they started just even becoming a little bit more separate, their monsters go hard. Like,
yeah,
I don't want like, oh man, chromatic dragon, or just like, oh, they're different colors. Nah. Give me the dragon made of adamantine. Give me the flesh warping dragon. Like, that's more interesting.
And speaking on that, we're getting the Draconic Codex, and we're getting more dragons. And the art for that book goes super hard. It's so hype. I absolutely cannot wait to see more interesting dragons, because don't get me wrong, right? I think the metallic and chromatic dragons are interesting and have an interesting lore and are really cool. And the only reason why at this point I would look for anything different is just because that's been my whole life around D&D up until this point, you know, is I've had it for a couple of decades now. Like, it's old news. They're still good, but hey, with the dragons that Paizo's already released, I want to see more. I want to see what other cool, kooky, crazy kinds of dragons that they are deciding to release in, you know, the Draconic Codex and any other future books as well.
And like, they can just come up with some dope ass like concepts. Isn't there a wizard one coming out soon too? Like, it's a wizard college book.
Oh, that's already out. That Rival Academies came out a couple months ago, I believe now. And
I'm so out of it because, admittedly, I used your videos for Pathfinder news. I don't watch any other Pathfinder character or YouTubers.
Yeah. babies.
I don't. Yeah, I don't blame you for any
I
of it, of
know.
course.
I
But
would have
like,
loved to. I would have liked to have rival academies and stuff. I uh I think that's really cool, and I really want to get rival academies. Like, there's some books now. I have to go purchase books because I didn't want to request any books because I was not going to be making videos, and I knew I wasn't, and I didn't want to be unfair to Paizo. But yeah, rival academies came out recently. That's really cool. And then Starfinder's also getting its Alien Core, which is going to be pretty awesome, and its GM Core. The Alien Core looks really, really cool too. So Paizo is coming out swinging like they always do. It's not as crazy of a year as we've had before, which I think is good. I think that there can be too much of a good thing when it comes to Paizo book releases, and I think Paizo needs to let the people breathe a little bit before releasing more books. Because
yeah, let me chew first before you give me like seconds.
what we found out last year was by the end of the year when War of Immortals and Divine Mysteries was coming out, the people were kind of already petered out. People didn't have the money to buy the books, and the hype was just like, you can only be hyped for so long. So a little bit of pacing is good, and that's not Paizo's fault. They have a pretty decent schedule for it. Remaster just kind of foobarred everything, and
Yeah,
hopefully,
it forced a lot of stuff.
yeah. So hopefully, we don't have to worry about that ever again. So
More time for them to like release stuff is just more time internally that they can like work on things. So that's good for everybody.
and also, please give me a chance to try new things before other new things come out. For real.
Yeah, well, let me play it first.
Let me play your game first before you get more new stuff. Uh it's a good problem to have, but it is a problem. Um and then
We are sitting on the mountain of peak, being like, "Oh, Paizo, please stop making new stuff."
yeah.
D&D fans can look over, and it's like a man dying of thirst watching another man drown. It is a sad irony.
Yeah, it is. It's a good time. It's a good time to be a gamer right now in general.
Honestly.
Uh Speaking on that as well, later this month, Critical Role's Daggerheart comes out. I do think that game legitimately looks really good. I like the armor system in it. I like the character building system. I think is really good. It's a great system for coming up with character ideas narratively more than just like your build. And I think the builds are pretty interesting too. I think it's genuinely a very interesting, cool game, and I will probably not get the chance to look into it, unfortunately, because it's coming out just right at the time, right when my life is still really busy and I'm still taking care of a baby. But I do think like Daggerheart is legitimately a good game. My only gripe is it's so D&D coded that it's hard for me to properly enjoy it as its own property.
I think it like just from sadly, I was not able to play test it with everyone. I think I was like sick or something. But I think there's a lot of stuff in there that for people who like, if you ask them, why do you like D&D 5e so much? The aspects they describe are hit with Daggerheart. It's like a nice kind of simple game. It allows you to do a lot of stuff narratively. It feels like a really interesting in between of like having crunch, but also being very like not having too many rules and like stepping back when needed. Like the character creation is fun, but I do feel that it's very D&D, which I think is a selling point for a lot of people that aren't us. Our selling point is a lot of other things than, yeah, it kind of looks like D&D. It has some similar hallmarks.
Yeah. So that's just my one gripe, but I think it's fine. Has it changed since the old playtest? I think, unfortunately, they have not released a lot of information since like that playtest. They've been pretty
I've
hush
seen
hush
none
with a
of
lot
it.
of it.
The most I've gotten is because I was part of the playtest. I get some emails every once in a while where they're like, "Wow, Daggerheart, it exists still." I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah, about the same. And I do know that like they're adding more of those like schools or whatever those, like each class you had from certain decks you could pull cards from for your like abilities and stuff, and they're adding some more, which is kind of cool.
That's good.
But no, domains, there it is. So I think it's really cool. Again, like I said, the only thing that I don't like is it's super D&D coded. And then also it's kind of just casual, right? So they have the robot people as one of their starting ancestries,
I do like the robot people.
and they're just called clanks, which is just such an uninspired name, and it's just I do believe, if I remember the lore correctly, they do have like another name for themselves, but clanks is like what everyone calls them, right?
In Star Wars, that's a slur for droids.
Right. It's just, it's uninspired, and there's a lot of things. They have tieflings are called tieflings and stuff like that. So, you know, again, my one gripe is it's just super D&D coded and kind of casually coded. Yeah, that name sounds like a slur. Yeah, so it's something that beyond that, I think it's a cool game. I just wish it was more unique, is I think my gripe. But
yeah, it honestly feels like it's another man's selling points is our gripe, and and all in all, it's because we don't like D&D. Like if we were big like 5th edition heads, I feel like we'd be like, oh, tieflings, they're here too.
Yeah. Or we're not super casual, because super casual people will be like, oh yeah, clanks, that's cool. You know, they're like, I don't like calling this race the Ethereans or whatever. That sounds just too complicated. And
give me a normal name, like like maybe 2 syllables.
Right.
And instead, like, I don't know. I do like having groups with more legit names than just Clank. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah. Speaking on something that's well more written, the Cosmere RPG also releasing this summer. At least the PDF versions. The physical books are going to be out for a while, at least until the Chinese tariffs are down, which probably will be happening soon. But
yeah, there's a chance of it.
We'll see. The Cosmere RPG, I think, is super hype. It's a game that I've taken some inspiration for the 333 in, and I think it's just going to be a really good game. And that world has actual, like, interesting sounding names for the different, like, peoples, like Thalens or Herdazians or, you know, whatever. They're not just the ship people, the short people, you know,
eyebrows.
The flint nail people, you know.
Yeah, it's got interesting lore behind, like, a cool system. And I am so excited just to get more information about Roshar and how stuff works. Because, man, there is a lot of aspects of the power system and, like, the world that we haven't seen because the books haven't talked about them. And this is going to be canon, and I'm so excited to learn about, like, Else Callers, like, so much.
We have a game ready. We have done the first session, essentially, and we're just waiting for the game to officially drop to continue playing.
I'm excited. I like my character a lot.
Yeah.
And I want to play him more. And also just the game is fun. Like, it's actually really cool.
It is really cool. I'm very excited. There's more I want to see. So it's such a good year for gaming. Oh, it makes it harder for me to have had a child this year, I'll tell you, because my channel would be over 10k subs guaranteed if I didn't have a baby. And I'm not unhappy to have a baby, but it was somewhat inopportune in many ways. Is Drawsteel out? Is Drawsteel out now? I thought it was coming 3rd quarter.
If anything, with having a kid, there's a bit of a buffer, 100%. You got to wait a little bit, but you're gonna have perfect availability to play test new games that come out. You teach a child how to play a tabletop game, you draw them into enjoying the hobby, and then you just kind of lay the seeds of, all right, you're a variety tabletop fan, let's play. Oh man, a new game dropped, you want to play like a little home game, and it's you secretly playtesting.
Yeah. What's also
It's an
hard is
investment. Yeah.
we'll probably have another one, so I'm just gonna go through this again in like a couple years.
Yeah. But in that case, you give yourself like what, 10-ish years? You got a campaign like squad, you have enough people for it.
All right, Draw Seal is not out yet, but we're getting ready for it. Draw Seal is gonna be interesting. It's the Matt Kovo game, and
It sounds interesting. It is a game though. My only exposure to it, how it plays, and if it's out, is literally this stream.
right. I mean, it's just Draw Steel is just, hey, I made D&D but better, but not in the way that Paizo did it. Just in a more like, this more harkens directly to what D&D is, but
I like the aspect that they're talking about. I just want to see it, the rules of it,
right.
where it is no action is wasted, and it's explicitly going against, I think, the some of the real pain points in D&D combat of just D&D combat. I don't like how often you can just waste your actions because how DCs and spells work. Like like Pathfinder ruined me. Pathfinder ruined me for like, I think, a fair spellcasting system in a game. And anytime I engage with D&Ds, like at that point, I was like, I hate how this works.
Yeah. And yeah, a unique take on 4E as well. I've heard great. I played a little bit of 4E, but I honestly like it was like a few sessions at most.
I only ever heard the 4E hate, and more I'm kind of thinking, was that unwarranted? Because every single time a game comes out that is like, we're inspired by 4th edition D&D, it kind of rules.
Yeah,
So
well,
I don't know.
4E was interesting, but see, 4E was a huge shakeup on like the idea of D&D. Like you didn't have like the normal classes, and there were a lot of classes that had like a lot of overlap with just different theming and stuff like that.
Because wasn't just like everyone had access to magic, basically? Wasn't that
Essentially, yeah. And yeah, it's good. I think mechanically they were going in the right direction, but I think there was some elements that were just not like, it's a game that was, you could say it plays really really well. I just wish it had more diversity is probably a better way of putting it.
I will probably agree with Dead Phoenix that it'll like, compared to 5e, it's better.
Well,
But
yeah,
like,
because it actually is a finished game.
that's the big one. Uh, like though I remember hearing way back someone talking about like, oh yeah, 4e sucks because like combats are super long and like tactical. And now now I look at it and be like, that sounds pretty nice. Get this spam out of here.
But yeah, so I don't think it will be bad. I think if it's inspired by 4E, but with the more modern takes that tabletop has developed, I think we're in for a good time. And Matt Colville was very much like, he wanted to make a more cinematic D&D experience where the game itself helps with that, and I think that's a really good idea. So I think Draw Seal is going to be really good. It's honestly one of the things I'm less excited for, but it's not the least. I think the least is DC 20. But still, we're in a good year. We're in a good year for tabletop. And all this, right? All this, I'm a fair person. I try to be impartial. I try to be considerate. All this, and what do we hear from Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, literally nothing.
Just empty winds. Nothing. I am someone who, if a really cool looking D&D book came out, I would be like, that looks really cool. And I just have not said that in a while. They made 2 UA videos, yeah, exactly. No books, no nothing. The company definitely can do it, but they're not going to. Obviously, we know Hasbro's take on this already. Yeah, they fired everyone working on their VTT that they were designing, and so now that's just gonna be half baked.
That's something.
Yeah,
the VTT that I think looks very cool, but still I think is deeply flawed with them doing Unreal 5. Because, man, you're trying to make a paid VTT that a bunch of people can't use. And like, it's just not going to run for most, like, basic systems. Like, nice.
That's a good point, actually, Mord. I think that's a very good point. Hasbro is going to be taking a huge hit with the tariffs. So.
Yeah. Like, the lead designers of the game are already gone. Like, they left. So
yeah, but see, that's the thing, right? I don't know how I feel about that because D&D sucked. So like how good were they as designers really?
Like, there's a couple elements where I've defended them in the past and been very charitable. And then I've heard their own words on design stuff at like panels, and I'm like, maybe I have to take it back and be a little mean.
Yeah.
Like, the classes, like, too many classes in the game.
Yeah, barbarian can just be a subclass of fighter.
We just need to make we can make infinite subclasses, but classes themselves are too overwhelming. The part that honestly hit me the hardest was well, we know this worked with Baldur's Gate 3, and you guys liked that, so we could do those rules.
Right.
And I know it's built off of the whole thing with the last thing they designed was Mystic, and everyone hated Mystic. So, I don't know. I think they just got too scared on, like, all elements. And that leads to, like, falling out of practice when you actually try to design something.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, a lot of this is hard to properly talk about because we don't know what Wizards of the Coast oversight did. We don't know what the game could have been if they had more free reign to do things the way they wanted. But 5e,
yeah, it's only speculating.
5e was just a perpetual tire fire. Cool to look at, but it stunk. And it's something that, like, I can't trust their design principles because of anything. We either saw it and I think they're terrible at designing games, or we didn't get a chance to see it, in which case I have no idea. We have no idea what they could have done.
I just genuinely wish they had the chance to make a different thing entirely. Like, because what we've seen in, like, later aspects of like D&D, every once in a while there was, like, a thing that was genuinely cool. I think everything with Tasha, like every subclass Tasha, like, onward, I think was utilizing the system of D&D 5e to the best extent. The problem is the core system just isn't great.
Yeah.
But it was utilizing the system as interestingly as possible. And there's ideas in there that I wish they got to make something different that could have let them achieve it even harder. But they clearly never got the chance to do that.
Yeah.
And actually, I say that, and I even think back on one in particular that makes me sad is the Way of the Soul Knife Rogue, because that came from the Unearthed Arcana Way of the Soul Knife Monk, which is objectively cooler in like
Right.
every single way. Soul Knife Monk like was so much fucking fun. Was it like a little overpowered? Probably, because you did get to change your damage type like pretty freely. To you could just have like I have psychic punches to help get around certain resistances. You had ranged punches like from like 10, 20 feet or something. There's a lot of goofy stuff, but it was like the most fun monk subclass ever, and then they killed it.
Yeah, there was a wizard art like subclass in one of the early Unearthed Arcanas I really liked, where they could tinker with their spells and they could change like what saves their spells hit at will.
That's so cool.
And that sounds really, really cool. And that got shit canned because, of course, that would be really, really powerful. And there was a
Yes.
way you could break the game where you could make it where the enemy can't succeed dexterity saves and then just make your spells dexterity saves and just auto hit the enemy with all your big spells.
Yeah,
So,
like that's busted. Like I feel like there's ways to have that concept and like have it be balanced, but
yeah.
instead of just killing it.
Right, I agree. So, it's it's sad because legitimately and honestly, I want D&D to be good. Not that I want Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro to have money, but because Dungeons and Dragons was and is arguably still is the soul of tabletop to this day. It's what people recognize. A lot of people still love it, and the fans of the property and tabletop in general deserves better for Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know if we'll ever get that. There might be a time where Hasbro just kind of lets go of D&D and just lets a small team do whatever they want. And the book will be simpler and maybe not as well like a lot of art or anything in it, but maybe it'll just be a game that's allowed to be good. But for now, D&D's demise is only the benefit to everyone else, which is a sad thing to say, but I'm happy to see more variety in tabletop coming out. I'm happy to see people talking about other games, and I want a future where people are excited about other games. So, Paizo, I think, is the gold standard. I think if any tabletop company tries and like succeeds in the market, I would hope that they would mimic how Paizo has done, which is just every year is a banger. They got new books, new things. The art looks great. Everything.
I like their system explicitly. I think it's what leads it to having this kind of style, this kind of release, and this quality. I like their method of having like a couple people in charge of the books. Like
Yeah.
it's a couple people, like their core design that they want to make. They run it around, they like play test it a lot, like internally. And every single time we've talked to them, it's all really clearly like, oh, this is a kind of a project of my passion. I just put in all the things I've always wanted, the things I like. They're based on things I really care about, or I have very personal ties to this stuff. And because of that, even if all of them aren't like as great of hits as the last one, like there's the constant feeling that the devs care
Yeah.
about what they've made. And like you can criticize a book, but if the devs care, there's a level of quality that something else won't have.
So, I I definitely think that tabletop's moving in a really great direction. Is it going to be the height that D&D brought it to? I don't think it will be. I think we were past the height of tabletop in like the public eye. And I say this specifically not because I think less people are playing it. I think a good amount of people are playing it. But like there was a period in time where you could not go 5 steps in social media without seeing some popular content creator, streamer, whatever, doing a D&D thing where, you know, like Critical Role was really at its height. They were doing really cool things with like Stephen Colbert, Vin Diesel, and stuff like that. And we had Stranger Things was still like at the end of its releases and everything. Like I genuinely believe that the height of tabletop kind of just hit at that point. And that's true too. COVID definitely helped in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like what else can you do? I like, if anything, I think there's the fad of tabletop games. That's, I think people would put it, where, yeah, like during the last like 10 years, basically, we've had tabletop is coming back. It's not just for nerd loser dorks. It's for everybody. It's cool. And right now, tabletop has a lot of exposure to where D&D is a household name. You just know, like, oh yeah, D&D.
Yeah.
Like, you understand what that is. And because of that, we have a bunch of people who have become big tabletop fans. Like, that is now a major hobby. But on the other side, now we're in a world where you could tell a very normal ass person, i.e., like, fun example, my family, my siblings, like, I could get them into a D&D like one-shot game. Like, I could do that now. I could not do that 10 years ago. And that's just kind of how we live now. It's people who are going to be very casual about it are going to stay very casual. But, like, it's the people that are now turning into very passionate, dedicated fans. It's just, it is always going to be the fan base. There's the casual fans and the serious fans. And it's all about trying to get casual fans to, like, no, this is something that's worth investing in. Like, come on, let's do this thing, like, regularly. And, like, that's, I think we're in that world now. Like, it's good. I'm glad that there's a lot of exposure.
Right. So we're in a good spot, and I think it's just only going to grow. I think it's something that will, over time, we're going to enter into an era of the indie tabletop scene where we're getting new, fantastic ideas, new tabletop games to play with, new mechanics people are messing around with. And there'll be like a game every once in a while that's a big hit that has some interesting mechanics people really, really like. Fingers crossed the 333 hits one of those marks.
For sure.
And it'll be good, you know. It's kind of like Warhammer. Warhammer had a huge spike of interest, and that started to like die down now in recent times. Ever since,
like, actually very recently, if you even want background details on it.
Sure.
And I'm a little privy to. Specifically, it started to hit January, around there, because normally that's kind of the downturn of 40K stuff, but specifically it is Fatigue from Space Marine 2.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
Yeah, like, I have the statistical information showing that, like, Warhammer 40K stuff started trending down. It's picking up again now, like, a bit, because it's just people had the break from Space Marine.
Right.
So it's, yeah, same deal. There's the casual fans who talk about the casual lore that I corrected today on my channel.
True.
But also the people who are super dedicated and then became dedicated over COVID, because what else are you going to do?
And, you know, honestly, now I'm thinking about it as well. What I really, really hope comes about is a new fantasy TTRPG that kind of like takes the place of Dungeons and Dragons, not because it necessarily does the idea of it better, but because it has the more interesting setting and like writing and everything like that. Because while I do think Pathfinder's Galarian is pretty good, it's messy. It's all over the place. And even for people who play the game pretty consistently, most people can only give you some vague ideas and concepts of like the world and the setting. Nothing very clear, nothing very like grabbable, you know. And it all just kind of sounds like standard fantasy stuff to some degrees. There are exceptions like Hell Knights and Chiliacs, which have not been expanded upon really too much.
No.
But like it's just all over the place, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that when you compare that to like the Cosmere's Roshar, you know, and the Stormlight Archives version of the Cosmere RPG, that setting is great. It's real interesting. It's not the fantasy setting that I'm referring to, but it's something that when you get into it, you learn and you understand the world, and you get like a very strong sense of like what world you're playing in. And I want that for fantasy. I want a new high fantasy setting to come out that has such good writing, is so interesting and thought-provoking and everything like that, that it makes people get super invested in the game and everything. Like, whether the game is genuinely that good or not, I don't think really matters. I want something that's just cleaner than like Faerun or Galarian. Something that has a very well-written lore and very well-designed locales and very well-designed like reason for the classes, you know, like wizards being something a lot more than just nerds who study the arcane, you know.
It's an interesting like double-edged sword with like thinking about tabletop settings, because I see it. I as someone else who's covered Galarian lore, that is a common like feedback thing I've gotten from people who have been like, yeah, it's a kitchen sink setting. So Galarian Faerun tries to be this, but it doesn't succeed. Where you throw in a fuck ton of like themes and concepts and origins of stuff, and you throw everything in a big old pot, and then people can take out what they like of it to create like to focus on what stories they want to tell. But it's allowing you to tell the widest amount of stories. You're doing a giant scattershot, which I think works really well for people who aren't into very structured worlds where but like,
or people
as
who want to do their own
homebrew
homebrew setting.
Exactly, because like I think you could take the rules of like the Cosmere RPG and have it work right, but it's so tied into Roshar and the Cosmere. Like there are going to be people who will strictly be like, I don't want to run that world. I want to run my world that I made. So like that's always like the interesting trade-off that I notice, because like just interacting with people at my local game store, there's a lot of people who do that explicitly of like game lore. I know nothing about like the world lore. I skip all that text. I only am here for the rules so I can put it in my own world.
Yeah, I mean, I totally see where those people are coming from, and to be fair, it doesn't matter how well designed a world will be. They'll want to do their own thing. They like having that ownership, and maybe it's just easier, you know. Like I'm kind of the same way to some degree, because when I talk about this, I think of Anima Beyond Fantasy.
Anima's setting like is so specific, but like you kind of have to run it in that world. And the world's cool. Like, it is a cool-ass world.
Yeah, because in some ways, Anima's setting is kind of a kitchen sink setting. There's a lot of different areas that have very different themes and ideas and everything like that. But the way it's all tied together makes it feel like one world. And there's an overarching story and an overarching theme of the fall of the Empire and the rise of the Azure Alliance that, at least on the main continent, kind of pervades every corner, that ties everything together really, really neatly. And then when you find the weird things that kind of step out of that, they have some depth and some interest to it, where you can kind of get lost in those little, like story niches that the world has kind of carved out. And so I want something like Anima Beyond Fantasy's world setting for a marketed, like, American TTRPG, one that's accessible, a game that's at least pretty well designed. And I think that if we can get something like that can take the place of D&D, then I think we'll be in a really good spot. I don't think that's going to happen for a long time, but I want more story to be brought back to the TTRPG scene, because a lot of what we've been kind of seeing lately is a lack of that, talking more about the mechanics and does this game actually run. And that's because D&D sucked balls on a mechanical level. And so that became the highlighting feature, when in old days of TTRPGs, what was the selling point was a lot of, like, the world and the story and everything like that. Because that was the unique part, really.
You know what I miss? I miss meta plots.
Yeah.
I miss World of Darkness meta plots. Because I am someone who loves the lore. I'm a lore guy. So it's more fun to follow, and I think it makes edition jumping really interesting. Where you get to see, like, really strongly how the world develops. It is literally World of Darkness and Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk did this so well. Every edition had, like, some major event and storyline tied to it. Yeah. And it was really cool. Some misses. I know there's one that was so bad it was made not canon. But, like, there's some cool shit you can do, and I want to see more of it. Because I feel the same way.
Because, unfortunately for the Cosmere and the Stormlight Archives setting, it's not a very free setting if you've read the books.
Like, if you as a table are willing to, like, not care, like, yeah, whatever. But as for me, as someone who read the books, I'm like, why would I want to design a character that wouldn't be fit in Roshar? I know Roshar, it's so well detailed. It kind of deserves that.
Yeah, but what I'm referring to more is, like, if you've read the books at all, or at least where the setting is kind of taking place, there's a lot of things that are, like, kind of just outside of what you should be influencing, where a lot of the major action is happening. And there's definitely some ways you can kind of do around it, but, like, I prefer a meta plot that's more vague, like, why it worked in Anima so well was because war had not broken out yet. You knew of the dissenting faction of the Azure Alliance, and you knew the Empire was not doing well. But whether that war starts, whether, what is happening in the world happens, that's all up to the party. But there's this idea that things, like, there's this imbalance that can be played around with. In the Stormlight Archives, you don't have that freedom, because there's kind of just, like, there's not really two sides of it, kind of, really. It's really hard because you have essentially the good guys and the bad guys. And while the bad guys can roughly be looked at in a way of, like, no, these are just people too, there's a force behind them that kind of just enforces that they're the bad guys.
Like, it's there's the good guy, bad guy, and then the smaller bad guy ? It's more nuanced than that.
Right.
Like, and that's a fun story to tell, but, like, I feel that there's it's the trapping of a tabletop game designed in an existing story.
Yeah.
Because if we decided to play the Star Wars game, the Lord of the Rings game, like whatever, the first thing you have to answer is, okay, are we playing essentially a fan fiction where my character's in the world and we're doing another adventure, but like the main plot still happens, or am I Luke Skywalker now? Like that is the question you have to answer. And
I mean, yes and no. I Lord of the Rings, I more agree. Star Wars, I disagree with more because Star Wars universe is so vast that like
you can tell stories outside of it for sure.
yeah, well, it's just like even if like the Empire exists, for instance, and you're playing during the era of the Empire, as long as your whole job isn't going to go take down Emperor Palpatine yourself, like you can tell some pretty like wide affecting stories too in that setting, saving worlds even from the Empire that won't necessarily affect the story. Lord of the Rings, a little bit different.
Is pretty strict.
It's a little bit different in the fact that there's not really an overarching thing, because the whole problem with like the orcs and Saruman and everything like that happens actually during a very short amount of time. It's like a few years.
I think, yeah, I want to say it's a year or like a couple years. Like it's not that long. But like yeah, like literally, there's the like Andor, in like Jedi Survivor and Jedi like Fallen Order are two things where I think of like, yeah, those are stories that 100% exist inside the world of Star Wars. The way I see it, it's at least less limiting than others. I think Star Wars just having such an expanded universe makes it better in that case. But like as prominent, as important as my character can be, and as much as I'm going to fight the Empire, I am not the one blowing up the Death Star, is like kind of the case with Star Wars.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings is the most limited because it's just, there's a lot of history. Like you could tell a story set in like the Rise of the Rohirrim. You could tell a story of like where what's his face? I want to say Malekith, but I don't think it's his name. The actual first Dark Lord was active. Like you could tell a lot of cool stories, but you're never, unless the game is designed to be this way, you're not Frodo.
Yeah.
And like that's a hurdle you have to cross for people. I like that at least with the Cosmere RPG, it is stated that like it's just totally down to do both. Because Sanderson has said like he likes both style of campaigns.
Yeah.
And that's a good attitude to have, but like it feels more limiting than a fully unique system or a very wide open system that you can basically ignore.
Yeah. I mean, like when I'm as I'm designing the 333, there is like the overarching meta plot kind of there is this event that is so world changing and yet so mysterious. And so there is this constant idea in the setting, and the players haven't really gotten close to that yet as far as we've done so far, but there's this idea that something happens during the 333, and so whatever you guys are doing, like no matter how you kind of do things, you can affect the story in major and massive ways, because there's no like specific things that need to happen or anything like that, while there's still this idea of like this connecting event to everything.
Yeah.
And I want something like that for the fantasy genre, because as it stands currently, D&D setting just it's all over the place. All over the place, quote unquote, but on one coast of a continent. And Galarian, the closest Galarian has had to a meta plot currently is, well, okay, that's not true. Because there was like the Rise of the Rune Lords, and there were some other like kind of big meta plots that happened. But for a casual person to get into the game, to buy the core book and everything like that, there's nothing. The only thing that we really have in second edition that's been more relevant is the God's Reign.
I hope that keeps growing, because it sounds like they've said that there's like going to be more of a story timeline, especially with them releasing novels.
Yeah.
Like that is how you do it. I personally believe the two best executions of a tabletop meta plot has been World of Darkness and Cyberpunk. Like those two do it so well. Where like there's novels, like full novels that you can read through. There's a lot of really interesting stuff. Even like video games and stuff. But it's really interesting if you read those kind of stories, because unlike a setting like the Cosmere RPG and like how it's going to operate, it is kind of assumed as you're reading it. It does the whole like, oh yeah, there's like these couple legendary heroes who were there present at this event.
Right.
The fun one version of it, I could like that everyone knows. The attack on Arasaka Tower in Cyberpunk.
Right.
That, as it happened, which fun other fact, Johnny Silverhand was lying in his memories. He was not present in the way that he says he was.
Yep.
Where in reality, the fight against Adam Smasher was Morgan Blackhand, the very cool OC of the game's creator, who was actually very cool. And also it says like, and a small team of like, whatever they're called in that game, I forget the Merc name. Like there was a team of them that set off the nuke. And there was like a lot of other larger extra things going on. Like that's how you do it. It's very like you just like, yeah, there's a couple established characters and then hand waves at like a handful of people that you as like a GM or player can point at excitedly, be like, that was me, I was there, I did that. Which is the fun of it.
I don't know. I can't really speak too much about those because I haven't seen them, but my favorite meta plot has always been the Anima Beyond Fantasy one. It's
a good one.
It's so good because there's so many interesting characters and there's so many things that that I would say would be interesting to be in that world, and you don't have to necessarily participate in it to feel its effects in what you're doing. And that's what I like. Like every single campaign we've done it, even though they veered very, very far away from that whole thing, except for one of them, there were still effects of that meta plot that players could see because it's the circumstance of the world. And yeah, I am aware that in Pathfinder specifically, there's like a meta plot that's happening in many of the APs.
It's like, I think it's the difference of there are plot lines that might call back later, because like I know a couple of those Pathfinder ones just in reading lore things. But like it is correct that most of it doesn't matter in a campaign, like unless you're running those. The God's Reign is the one that is the most like, okay, this is going to affect a lot of things. And there's just the ways of doing it. Like the other example why I say World of Darkness is just so good about it is World of Darkness does the funny thing of there's a meta plot and then you get to decide how the meta plot happens at all, because there's so much variability in it, where you're like, yeah, there's this key event that might have happened, or it didn't if you think it sounds dumb, or you want it to happen like later when in the timeline. Yeah, sure, you can just say the dimensional anomaly happened way later. Yeah, Gehenna, there's like the literal end of the world plot line. There's like 7 styles it could have hit. And so that's another way of doing it. It's just, it's so nebulous that your favorite version of the storyline can happen in your game, which I think is a great method of doing it.
So yeah, you know, I want to see a high fantasy setting where TTRPG become well known and well played with something like that, because I feel like that would be imagine a world, right, where Anima was a good game and actually like better released in America and the internet knew about it. Just
that would be a nice world.
The sheer amount of people obsessing over the characters and the lore and making fan animations about it and everything, like I could see that visually in my brain what that would look like, and I think that would be amazing. but the book didn't really do super well in America, and the company hasn't made a lot of the best choices, and the game's also kind of like all over the place. But the setting and the characters, it would have been great. I want something like that, and like it's just the cycle of things, I suppose. We're currently in the cycle of the current core design of games doesn't work, so now we need games that improve upon it. And it's the same thing with video games. Like when the AAA scene started getting really, really stale, we had the indie scene blow up and invent some new games. And now that the AAA has decided, okay, we need to actually make good games now because, you know, people can buy good games for way less than what we're making. We're starting to see AAA and we're starting to see some like AA companies starting to make actually good games again, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
We're getting like very good games, and then the lollygaggers who are like, well, what if we made an extraction shooter?
Right.
That's what everybody wants. Or a game with such a stupidly high budget, it's kind of scaling the AAA market because they want the most highest graphic fidelity.
Yeah.
Which is like a lot of people are starting to, me included. I've been like this for a long time, starting to push back harder, which is making the indie scene boost even more. Expedition 33 is, I think, the best example of this because, you know, a bunch of the people are ex Ubisoft devs. I think like the core team of it like were actually fired from Ubisoft.
Yeah.
And they've talked about like this is a game they've had kind of kicking around for a while, and I think they tried getting it greenlit in like Ubisoft like AAA. And they said if we tried to go traditional AAA, it would have taken 13 years to like get this actually approved.
Right.
Which is depressing, honestly.
I think it was Microsoft or something. I think I remember seeing an article around that. They like tried to at one point, and then they got declined, and so they did it themselves. But
it made one of the best RPGs I've ever played.
Yeah, for real.
God.
So like, this is all the cycle of things, and so we're in the TTRPG cycle of right now. Indie's not necessarily as necessary. We just want a game that runs well, that runs generally good, and I think like Pathfinder will definitely start taking that more and more. And we'll get to a point where like, okay, now we need new ideas. Now we need new things, you know, because D&D was sold on the idea of tabletop, but it was not the game that tabletop could be. And so we just like, again, that's what Draw Steel is about. That's what Pathfinder is about. That's what DC 20 is about. And so if we can get a really, really good fantasy game that gets a lot of people in, then we can start innovating more in theme and concept and mechanics. So we're just kind of waiting for that. Or maybe the grander audience gets involved in Pathfinder. I don't see that happening because Pathfinder is just more of a game than I think a lot of people are willing to dive into when it comes to tabletop casuals.
Yeah, I've had discussions with people about it too, where like I've talked about like, oh, the reason I like Pathfinder 2e is because how much rule there is, and like you don't have any of the rule uncertainty and have to make stuff up on the fly because it's there. And then there are a lot of people who will hear that and be like, oh, that's what I don't want. I want to make up stuff on the fly.
Well, it's probably not even that. It's just I want something that I don't have to read a book about, you know. I want to I want a character sheet. Just give me a character sheet and let me look at like what Daggerheart does, where they have like a few pages of character stuff you need to look through, and that's about it. And then you go, and you don't need to have a lot of hyper investment in it. You can just get in and play. And D&D was really good for that because honestly, most of the holes in the system existed beyond that step. I want the GM to know / make up all the rules for me. Yeah. And like we just need a game that's better designed so the GM has to make up less rules and can just run it for people, you know?
Yeah.
And in the end, I think as well, public opinion, it's going to matter on who's playing the games, who's doing the things, and these things will live and die by the public appearance of these things. But at the very least, enough people are generally interested in it now where we can have more likelihood of those events happening, which is good. You know, like VTubers are very consistently and constantly dipping into tabletop stuff every now and then. Be interesting to see Joe Cat play Pathfinder 2 on Monday, lol. Yeah.
I know he's been more and more excited about it. It just, I'm happy that we're seeing creators enjoy Pathfinder.
Yeah.
Because, like, if anything, just seeing it in motion, I feel like we'll get people who have maybe been like, I don't know about Pathfinder. It seems too complicated. I don't want to play the spreadsheet game. Then seeing it and be like, oh, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Like, sure, you have to learn it, but, like, it's not that bad.
Yeah. So, you know, and it can happen, you know. I don't think the grand public or casual gamers are dumb as a lot of people like to think. I think a game like Pathfinder is easily graspable. It's just whether or not the public perception of it is that way. And with Pathfinder as it currently is, it's still fighting the crunch allegations of being Mathfinder, and that affects people. That affects people quite a bit. And you know, you get people like the Bob World Builder saying it's an overly complicated game, which isn't helping, and stuff like that. But we now have Jacob Buds of XP to level 3, like hyping the game up at every opportunity. And I mean, Puffin Forest has made a couple videos on it already. Even
he's made videos on Anima, like
yeah.
Gotta bump up Anima's stock in the world, because I am of the opinion, let's just make Anima 2, make it worse in all accounts, and then release it in the States, especially with the new video game coming out.
Yeah.
I am so sad constantly I didn't have like $6,000, $8,000 to burn.
Right.
I want to have one of my characters as a quest line. I wanted that reward back so bad.
Yeah. So we're in a good period of time. All these summer releases, I think, are going to really stock the fuel for what's to come. We got a lot of games coming out. Starfinder 2E is coming out. I am noticing that at conventions, tabletop is taking up bigger and bigger parts of the convention floor, which is really cool. And we got some really cool games coming out. I wish I could be making more content about it nowadays. It drives me crazy not being able to, especially because, like, literally, I've been trying to work on the 333 in the time between sessions, and I get to do like very little between sessions just due to having a baby. And so I can't even imagine trying to make a video at this point in time, because it's just honestly more effort, more time required than I have available. But I do think we're getting to a point where tabletop is what I've been saying it was going to be for the last few years. If you've been watching Table Talk for a while now, you know I've been saying we're coming to a new gold age for tabletop. I feel it. I feel like we're gonna have a whale fall. I feel like D&D is going to crash and burn, and we're gonna start seeing more variety and more stuff like that. And you know what? It's kind of happening. Zoran, the wizard, I guess. I don't know. Just Zoran, I guess nowadays, has been doing really, really good at getting Pathfinder out to people. He's been playing with some pretty well-known content creators. Narrative Declaration is now over 100,000 subs, which is huge for a not D&D tabletop. And with XP to level 3, constantly hyping the game up and everything like that. I feel like we're going to see a minor surge of new interest in like Pathfinder, which is great. I think is really, really good. And who knows how well the Cosmere RPG will do, because at least the Cosmere RPG has the potential of bringing the Sanderson heads into the tabletop sphere and being its own kind of like micro community in the space. And I'd love to be a part of that too.
Yeah, I can see it doing well in that aspect of it's going to sell real well and play real well with Cosmere fans. And thankfully, there are a lot of people who have read Stormlight, because that book sold a fuck ton.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who like it. I am so excited to see more of that world and expand it out. So I'm so happy. I like the idea of there being like tabletop games that are designed for like a niche group.
Yeah.
And it's like, because out there's probably games that I look at and I'm like, I understand why you're super into that. I personally don't like that system, or I don't like the setting that exists in. But, it's cool that there's a thing for it. That's me with the Star Wars tabletop game. I hate the Star Wars setting, but the games are always very good.
Yeah.
And it makes me sad eternally.
But also, like, this stream, I wanted to talk more about the new stuff coming out for Paizo and everything. But looking on their website is you can barely find any of the information, especially on like the Draconic book, the Draconic Codex coming out. And it's because a lot of this is just on their streams where they talk about it. And I really wish Paizo just had better blogs about the new stuff that they have going on, where it's more accessible and easier to get to.
Yeah, the only way I can think of is going to like the pre-orders, but
it's not even there. So it's something that like I'm like, Paizo, please. It's the same problem as the Discord problem, only worse, because now you have to watch a whole stream for it.
Yeah, like I see Battle Cry on there. I had to click a lot of tabs to get to the part where I can see oh shit, there's a Treasure Vault remaster? That's cool.
Yeah, the remaster Treasure Vault's coming out here soon. Which I didn't mention just because it's like, it's okay, reworking some of the items a little bit, but like I don't think it's going to be anything too crazy. It's just one of those things of, well, we have to make a remaster of it because there's not a remaster, and so people won't buy the book because they think it's old,
oh yeah, there's somebody floating in our community who does those Reddit posts. So,
yeah,
thankfully. Yeah, I feel that. Because like I look at this, and the one thing I keep periodically thinking, I'm like, man, I want to make a Necromancer build. And then I'm like, oh wait, that's not out yet. Like, when does it come out? I have no clue. I don't know when Necromancer drops. I tried Googling it a bit ago and I couldn't find an answer.
Yeah, well, that was a playtest that's coming out for the... It was called the Impossible playtest. And that's coming out next year. So
at least Commander and Guardian are gonna drop soon.
Just a couple more months.
Yeah, I just want Necromancer. I want to make a Necromancer gunslinger so bad.
The Necromancer legitimately looks pretty fun. I'm actually pretty hyped. Mechanically speaking, it looks super interesting.
It looks really interesting, and it looks really interesting in a way that you could build a lot of things out of it. And that's what you want. You want to have like a lot of options and choice. I am fully going down skeleton and then Oziarch armaments. I want to do that.
Welcome, Devin. It's towards the end of the stream, but glad you're here. But yeah, I don't know. I like that's a great thing, even though I've been kind of out of the Paizo game for a few months just because, baby. Um, even if I didn't do anything for the rest of this year, which would be very sad, but I don't know. I thought she would be getting a little easier, and she has not. In fact, she's
Yeah.
gotten more difficult because now she requires more attention. But next year would be just as hype as this year. Like there's still tons of stuff, lots of cool, crazy ideas, and Paizo just doesn't miss, really. They just keep coming out with banger content, and I'm happy that at the very least I'm always going to have Paizo content to make content on. But I'm excited for the Cosmere stuff. I'm so excited to see all the Radiant Paths and everything in there. And I'm excited for when they do Mistborn and what that's going to add to the Cosmere RPG and World
So
Hoppers,
excited. Let me play a World Hopper. I wanna be exploring these planets because it's so cool. And the part that's really interesting about the wider Cosmere is like the actual technical development of the universe. Because fun little fact, there's a book coming out soon. It's on pre-order. It's Secret Project number 5.
Yeah.
That takes place a little bit more in the future, and Isles of the Emberdark. And a large thing about it is a group like discovered space travel and is now like colonizing this like backwater planet, and like that is a large theme of it. And it's been stated by Sanderson that every single world's magic system has the capacity of spaceflight.
Yeah.
So like it's just a method of how they're going to achieve it. There are already some theories running around of how allomancers are able to do spaceflight, because we have seen in one of the secret projects we have seen allomancer spacemen like having a spaceship. So I'm excited. I'm so excited for that aspect because it's like literal adventuring and discovering and like doing science. And then you go to a planet where if you move too fast, the ghosts will kill you.
Yeah. But yeah, so the Cosmere RPG is just like every year I feel like it's going to get more and more interesting as we get more and more of the books and the settings and everything like that. And I'm excited for other TTRPGs. I mean, like, there's still great hidden gems out there, like Fabula Ultima, which just released another book recently, which is pretty fun. It's a really great game, little great system. Not like probably a good long-term game, if I'm gonna be honest, but like a good like midterm, like short, like half a year game. I think would be really good in that game, in that setting. We have a Fabula Ultima game that at this point I don't even know if it's gonna get revived because it's been so much time and I have so little time currently. But
yeah, and like where I'm at currently, I'm like, I cannot really have a second game going on. Like one game is the most I can handle with my like self-inflicted workload and my real workload. And like I need time to chill and relax so I don't die making my YouTube videos.
yeah, I mean, we'll probably have a second game in the week when the Cosmere comes out because I don't know if I can stop myself from playing the game. So
That's fair.
We'll see. I don't want to stop doing the 333. It might just fall off the stream for a bit, but the 333, I don't feel like stopping would be a good idea. I feel like the game is currently developing at a really, really good rate, and I'd hate to stunt that by stopping for any period of time.
Even if it's important to have the continual like play testing of it.
Yeah, even if it falls off and becomes more of like a small group of people doing it, something. But I'm contemplating it, and we still have Plague Watch to do at some point. It's being a tabletop content creator is hard because it's just so much time goes into playing tabletop, and like, but it's going to be a really good year, a really good summer for tabletop in general. Hopefully, y'all will stick along here with us for it. We'll probably have a lot of interesting things to talk about. Hopefully, the channel gets kicking back again soon. Fortunately, people have still been watching my content, so my channel hasn't died yet. But I do. There's a point where I'm going to have to start making anything, and I don't know. I don't know what. Like, there might just have to be some videos of me just sitting here talking with like no editing, just to keep something on the channel floating, because it's so hard with the baby. But and we want another one too.
Yeah, there's just a lot of other. There's a lot of work in that field.
Yeah, though to be fair, and some good news on the horizon at the very least. My mother is planning on moving up to this area at some point in the near future as well, and
That's good.
she's completely willing. Did you move my desk? No, why?
It's flipped. The camera's flipped, Devin.
Yeah, relatively speaking. I mean, to be fair, if you were no, yeah.
I was thrown off by it when it was first there, because I'm not used to seeing what it looks like. Having been in your home, your desk is currently where Suzanne's desk is.
Right, kind of, yeah, on that side of the room, yeah.
That's just how it looks.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Don't have a green screen up at the moment. It was too much effort to have the green screen here. So, no green screen for the foreseeable future. But anyway, my mother might be coming up and living here, and then I can several times a week at the very least hand the baby off to her and get more of a day to produce videos. So that will come. I don't know when. Part of it is kind of just my grandparents are in their sunset years, and so whenever they cross the Rainbow Bridge, then that will probably start happening. But you know, I don't want them to pass, so it's like I don't know when, and but when it happens, more content will be made at that point, and I'll be able to do more. So hopefully the channel holds out until then. Hopefully Belle becomes a little bit more self-sufficient, a little bit. I'm not saying, you know, I just put her down and not mess with her all day, but like at least for like an hour at a time or something. Just the ability to put her down so I can work on stuff.
Yeah, and, like just that minimal amount of time.
You know, even if it's just she's in a playpen over here somewhere where I can see her and I can work on content while she plays with toys, you know, like something just a little bit more. But yeah, I don't know. I've kind of run out of things to talk about this stream. We're getting close to the end here. Unless you have anything you want to add, Alex, any ideas or thoughts?
Everything I've kind of covered. I'll be honest. I'm currently, it's just been an idle thing. I've had a tab open for a while, trying to get a suit for your wedding. Oh, because I should have formal wear, like obviously. Well, and like I have plans to match without going like, you know, buying a $300 thing.
Yeah, I mean, if it helps at all, if it's just like nice enough looking Ren Fair garb, you can go with that as well. So
yeah, it's whatever I can find, but that's at least the thing I've been thinking of. Honestly, like I just agree all around. I think there's like a lot of fun things we talked about. I'm thinking about how lore kind of impacts different people for different games, and that level of it would be very cool to have a tabletop game that like specifically a fantasy one that isn't trying to do a kitchen sink setting. There's like a couple that I've seen that in like stores that have been kind of doing that. The one I can think of is Songbird. I know nothing about the game, but
I don't
like
think I've heard of it.
The art looks cool. because I saw it in a Barnes and Noble and I thought it looked cool. I did not buy it because it was like $60. It was also a honking core book. It was like 500, 600 pages. Heavy.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah,
there's all kinds of crazy games out there. You know, there's a Transformers TTRPG.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, our local game store has a lot. If I was a rich YouTuber, I would have a wall filled with just all kinds of crazy TTRPGs and board games. So, you know.
I agree. I would have way more stuff like that on display if I had the money. Because I want physical copies of some of the books I read. You know, genuinely, I want physical copies of a lot of the older Warhammer codexes because they're very cool. I want them physical so bad. But like, man, that sounds like it'd be very expensive.
Yeah, yeah. One day I'll paint my Thousand Sons army.
One day.
Or make them literally at all.
Like, I understand very, very firmly why you cannot do them now, and personally, why you shouldn't do it now. That is a choking hazard. Like, having those little plastic bits floating around. Because I'll say, you'll clip a head, and it's gonna vanish. And what's that? Oh, a baby found a little Space Marine head. So yeah, it is good idea to wait.
But
I'm excited. By the way, this fun little thing about Warhammer. I am currently waiting for a shipment to arrive at our local store that is one pot of every Citadel paint. Because I traded in I think it was like I'll say it here. I'm not ashamed. I'm a little ashamed. $700 of Warhammer stuff. And like now I have that in store credit, and a large chunk of that is going to every single paint pot because I keep having to want to paint something and then I don't have the color. So now I will never have that problem again.
Until you run out of the specific color.
Until I run out of the one color. You know what? I'm going to run out of gold. I'm going to run out of metal. Yeah. And I'm going to run out of black. That's just how it be. Those are the paint schemes I use.
Man, you have the GameStop problem, but with Warhammer. I keep trading in my games so I can get credit to buying new games.
The route I went is that I do not have a functional army anymore, except I have a bare bones 2,000 point Custodes list. That's just like the stuff I've already made and would use. Because like I haven't played the game for years and I'm not going to, because the things I see I'm like, I don't want to get back in like deep into playing the game. So the part that appeals to me now is making little art pieces to where what I want to do is I have a fuck ton of Space Marines. I want to paint little squads, each of a different Space Marine chapter, especially the like obscure ones.
Yeah.
Because it's more fun. Like I like the idea of doing that. And then having essentially a very wide range of like character units with like a small squad of their normal dudes. That way I just have a nice wide range of fun stuff. And the eventual project I will create. I don't have money to do it because I calculated the cost. It's like I think over $2,000 to do this. I want every Primarch. And that's like Horus Heresy as well. I want every Primarch, and I want like a display case of every Primarch. And it's a lot, and it keeps growing because they keep bringing Primarchs back.
True. Yeah.
So since I last calculated the cost, I think it's $400 or $600 more expensive because Fulgrim, Angron, and I think Jagatai Khan for Horus Heresy. So,
yeah, I really hope they make the game more interesting in 11th edition. Because
I hope so. It's nice for the people who are doing competitive, but a lot of the people who do casual aren't as into it.
Yeah, it's just because like I remember being kind of excited to get into the game, and then 10th edition came out, and we're like, oh yeah, there's some cool things here, and then it just was just like, and now no one's talking about it. Like, don't even think Brekkie even talks about lists anymore.
He stopped with Dice Check, but I think he did something recently where he played, because he did like the last tournament that came through. Like he still plays it. He just doesn't talk about it. And like the problem is on a casual rule set wise, there's a lot of great changes. I talked to a friend of mine who is 50th best Warhammer player competitively in the States. He like I trust his word over this stuff, but the big issue is like customization was taken out for like, oh, I'm running this subfaction of like subfaction thing.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's a good idea to do that because there's been like a lot of weird baggage in games of like players who started in the 90s getting like causing scenes because, oh, you're playing Blood Angels. Excuse me, those are painted salamanders. You cannot do that. And like there was a lot of incidents about that in tournaments, like a weird amount of people that cared. And so the game took out all elements of like the painted minis and what you built on the mini matters. Which made it less impactful to like make something specific for your army, but it makes it run better in like if you're playing tournaments in a lot of games.
Right.
Which is the problem. Like that's the trade-off you make.
Yeah, I don't know, but I do want to have the army. It's just I literally have zero inclination to work on minis, and that's my problem. And that's,
I get you.
Like, at some point I will. I keep thinking about it, and it will happen eventually. You know, it's just getting there.
I can literally see the box behind you.
Yeah. A few of them, I believe.
Yeah.
There's the
I see the battle box with Grey Knights.
Yep, and I think above that are like some Terminator Rubicons.
Yeah, the rubric like Scarab Marines.
Yeah.
They're very cool.
I think
man, are they fun to paint.
Too.
Yeah, Armin is in the Armin is in the battle box. I do not see Magnus, and honestly, I would if you do get Magnus, wait. All those big like giant models are really fun. Magnus I think is the easiest, but it's just good to have to get rid of the worry that you're going to fuck up the big cool model.
Yeah. No, I do have a Magnus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I believe Devin got him for me for my birthday one year. But
nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but all right, that's going to be it for stream. I need to get back to play some more Expedition 33.
I need to go back and do some real serious work, and by that I mean also play Expedition 33. So I did my work. My video is released today. I get to chill.
Yeah, I've just been having the baby all week, so like today has been the only day I've had any chance to really play freely.
Yeah, exactly. Go take that time.
But that's gonna be it for us. Thank you all so much for being here today. Alex, anything you want to leave us off with before we head out?
Yeah, I cover lore on my own YouTube channel, as I've talked about, intermixed throughout this episode. It's Glue Boy. You can go check that out. I just put out a video today about the orcs and how the whole aspect of the power of belief isn't really a thing. And side note, just for you, Cam, I just got a comment a little bit ago that is hitting the exact same note you mentioned at the beginning of the stream, that it's going to become true because fans will then work for Games Workshop and write more to be canon. So like, yeah, you're on the money. Other people are like, wait a second, are we the real orcs?
Yeah, are we the orcs?
Yeah. So yeah, go check out that video. I'm honestly very proud of it. It took a lot of extra work.
Yeah, and I mean, like, also, Alex has been doing super good. We never really talk about it nowadays because you hit 10K. That was cool. And then my life got busy, but you're at 15K subs now.
It's crazy. I'll be honest, after 10K, I stopped paying attention as much to my sub count.
Also, you have a video with nearly 100,000 views.
Oh, shit. Is it that high?
It's 92,000 at the moment.
I know which one you're talking about. Yep, there it is. I haven't looked at that. That makes sense why I'm still like making over the YouTube like money thing. of getting over the cap. It's just this fucking video.
I mean, your other, yeah, 71K, 52K, 47K.
I'll do it.
I just not too long ago had a video get over 20K.
Yeah.
Like,
I am curious for fun like YouTube transparency, which I always will be. This video has made almost like if I make what is that 18 more dollars, this video will have generated $800 of revenue.
Dang, that's crazy.
Or no, sorry, I'm dyslexic. 400.
Oh,
not 800. Sorry, I saw an 8 and I was like, yes, that's the first number.
I see.
So, because it's 382, so I saw the 8 jumbled. So yeah, it's made about $400 like over the course it's been a thing. So it's still getting views. That's fucking wild.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm looking at my popular videos now. Some of my Lancer videos have still been climbing.
That's the secret. Lancer keeps climbing. It just you make it and it grows. It's the exact same with anything World of Darkness. It's like they don't pop off, but they don't stop growing.
Because my like core Lancer videos for like the artillery and strikers and supports keep getting views.
They're just eternally useful.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people in the wild say those videos are useful. Go watch it.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I do prefer making like evergreen content. And
I do too.
It's been fun. It's been a fun watch. I'm sad we couldn't get to 10K close together, but
I know, yeah.
Baby. It's just
for very understandable reasons.
Yeah. And to be fair, you just had some videos that popped up. Like even if I was making content like I was before, I would not be that much further than like just getting over 10K.
It's because purely some videos popped off, and then like the reason it happened in this time scale is specifically because of the channel Arthur Bones 40K,
right?
Who is a very cool guy. Like he rules. So if people want 40K content and now Trench Crusade content, go sub to him. Go watch his stuff. I don't watch a lot of 40K creators because I read the books too much, and so I don't want to mix my hobbies and my work, so to speak. But his videos are very good and they're like well put together. So,
but yeah, as far as for me, I already talked about it. Have a baby. Our own schedules are gonna get back together. We're gonna keep streaming. We're gonna keep having TableTalk at the very least, and maybe we'll get some guests on. I had someone I connected with early in the year, and then I haven't been able to reconnect since. But so that might come up, and as well. The 333 is still well in production. It's still going really, really well. So if you're interested in like a more modern Victorian steampunk setting for a Eldritch horror style game, come check it out. It's actually been really fun. It's actually been really, really good.
Yeah, been fun.
As I said before, that's gonna be it for us. We'll go ahead and say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.